Okay, so let's have a quick look at how we can format our Godemy Online courses. Two things to think about. One, conceptually, how do we want to organise our course? We can do it by topic or by time or by teacher. By far the majority of us are going to do it by topic. I mean, you could also structure it as sort of a journey through the course, which I guess is sort of a mixture of topic and time in a way. Ultimately, you've got to think about how do you want students to access your files. There are a couple of other ways of doing it as well, which I can talk about when I actually look at some courses. You also need to look at how you're going to physically lay the course out on the screen. And you've got two basic options, in columns or grids. Right, let's have a look on Godemy Online, some courses that have been set up so you can sort of see what this is going to look like both for you and for students. Okay, so I've set up 3 courses that have roughly the same content. They're all based on my computing AS group. And conceptually what I've done is have basically a section per topic, which is pretty much how I do it at the moment. I've gone for sort of a minimalist approach of just literally one section per unit in the course. Still having a course handbook, and the third option I went for was basically a section per half term, all of which I think are sensible, and they're 3 ways in which people have been using it in the current Godemy Online. I want to talk about some pros and cons of these, but I also want to show you the different course formats, which is where I'm going to start. For 2 of the courses I have added a third third column, if you like. I won't use a column because we also use columns here. I've added a set of blocks on the right hand side of the screen, which have got my sort of Twitter feed and Pinterest board and a sort of definition of the day which you can set up through glossaries. Also sort of a delicious feed which for some reason is broken at the moment. For this one there's no right hand column, just so you can sort of see for yourselves how crowded you want the screen to be. I'm on a pretty normal sized screen here, so you can judge for yourself which you prefer and which you think your students will prefer. We're going to use this particular course to look at the different course format options and how we achieve that. Just so we're clear, this is collapsed topics. If I click on the little arrow, then it shows me what's there. I've got pretty much everything on the front of the screen at the moment, or I'm going to show you some options about how you can perhaps reduce this sort of scroll of death effect by having everything as links on the front of your site. But let's have a quick look at how we can change this to actually look differently. Everything in Godemy Online 2 is basically done through this administration menu, which is just on the bottom left of your screen usually. Certainly if I shrink my courses option, you can see it's there. And this edit settings will be correct for the thing you're looking at. So if I had a glossary open, then this edit settings will be for the glossary. As I've just got my course open, this edit settings is for my course. So let's give it a click. And you can see it opens up, and I've got absolutely tons of options as I scroll down. But the one we're interested in is course format. Here I can change my colours if I want, and I can change my number of sections. But what I want to look at the moment is how I can structure my columns, so I can and my format. So I've got several options here: grid, collapsed topics, topics, or weekly. Weekly will sort of force you to have certain dates per topic, if you like. Social just really doesn't work for our kind of courses. It is very much just a forum. This single activity format, again, really you'd only be using this if you're using a course for a very specific task. So topics, collapsed topics, or grid is really what we're going to be looking at. Topics is exactly the same as collapsed topics, but you don't have the option to shrink them down just to see the headings. This is very much like the current version of Godemy Online, and because we're not going to have a menu on the left hand side, is probably not appropriate. But let's have a look at this grid, just so you can see what it looks like. I've got a few more colour options. I've also got a variety of different settings for what grid I would like, but if I hit Save Changes, you can see that it hopefully pops up and we have a sort of box per topic, if you like. I think it works quite nicely. I can click on it and it will pop up in this sort of pop-up window to show me the links. And then close that down, click it there. It stops working really if you've got more than one page worth of resources in a particular section. Okay, I've flicked back to the options. If you want to play around with that, to have a look at it, simply go back, choose grid format, and then you can click on the little help buttons to actually see what these mean. If you're not quite sure, it's absolutely fine, just pick one. But image container width hopefully makes sense, so let's make them, I don't know, double the size roughly, and let's change the ratio to be square for whatever reason, and you can see that that will change how big my grids are. I mean, that is a pretty big. You can also change how these look so they're not just grey by just going to turn editing on, and then I get a little magic option here to change the image, and I can just drag any image I've got into this box, or I can use the file chooser to actually pick an image. You can pick whatever you like, but be aware that I'll just pick that one for now. If you pick something of a strange size and you start resizing your boxes, it will sort of, let me just turn the editing off so you can see what that looks like. It will sort of resize it or crop it to sort of make it work. So here it's sort of shrunk it, and the way it does that is not always perfect. So just be aware that if you're going to do this, you might be playing around with the images here to make them look nice. So here I've still got this not very nice grey boundary around it. The other thing, of course, you could do is stick the images and then resize your grids to try and make that work. So we're back in the course settings page, and we're going to go back to collapse topics, which is probably what I will use, and you can see that when I chose collapse topics, it sort of reset the settings so that I've got the correct settings. Really, you can just choose the number of columns you want. So we were looking at 1, but let's see what 2 look like, and you can see that for this it just organises it like that. At the moment this is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oh no, it's not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but you can have it so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 like that, and that option is controlled via this horizontal or vertical column orientation. So I recommend you have a little play with different options. You can have up to four columns if you want. You can organise them by horizontal or vertical numbering, and you can also change your colours. You can change what little icon makes them go bigger or smaller. There's lots of things to play with there. You cannot break it, and if you do, Liz or I can easily reset it back. So feel free to play. Hopefully that was a fairly brief look at the different layout options. I didn't want it to be an exhaustive how-to session because I really want to encourage you to play. But by adding in a few sections to your courses, before you sort of get too far down the line of really sticking too many resources in, you should have a quick play to how you want to structure it. Let's look at some of the pros and cons now of how I've done it with my courses. So let's go to this one. Just 2 columns and just 3 topics. A course handbook with the essential stuff in it, one for a single unit, another one for a single unit. Everything put, well not everything, but quite a lot of things put on the as links on the front. This is really going to become a real pain in the neck for me if I was to choose this option. I'm going to find that I just end up with long lists of activities and lots and lots and lots of links, which kind of makes sense as a website, but as a student coming in and trying to find it, that they've told me they don't particularly like it when I've done this in the past. If you were to go to just a very simple two-topic system, you'd probably want to use one of the ways of organising resources, such as a glossary or a database or folder structures, where you actually house your links here and house any files here in a sort of database system as well. And then that would work quite well. The sort of classic one topic per topic, if you like, where if you have got long lists of activities for them to do, it keeps it pretty manageable. It also makes it very, very easy for you to refer to it in class. You know, you tell the students to go to the data representation section of the site or whatever it happens to be. I've also given us a section for each unit as well, where I sort of store things like glossaries and the spec. The one that we were looking at a moment ago, and I can't remember how I've actually left it, there we go, with the split into half terms, I quite like, but I think it might cause me quite a lot of work. Again, it breaks it up into nice manageable chunks, and it'll be very good for the students to refer back to, but there might be some stuff moving about, although I do like the fact that I can have a little checklist in this and say, you know, this is what you're going to be able to need to check off, and the students can actually tick it off when they feel they've achieved those goals. There's lots of things for you to think about. During the inset session, feel free to ask myself or Liz what you think you'd like to do and how many resources you've got and how you want to organise it. Hope you found this useful, and enjoy playing.